Welcome back to Active Ingredients, the leadership series for people who build, scale, and shape the future of life sciences. I'm your host, Tom Dove, founder and CEO of Fraser Dove International. Today's guest is Gabriel Morelli, a commercial strategist and a global operator whose career has taken him from his in Latin America all around the world. Gabriel's journey spans generics, CDMO, consulting, and private equity-backed life sciences. Along the way, he's worked across emerging markets, global strategy roles, and C-suite advisory positions, helping companies sharpen their commercial strategy, pricing discipline, and operational performance. But what makes Gabriel's story particularly interesting is his willingness to invent, leaving home to pursue an MBA abroad, taking risks early in his career, experimenting with ventures, and continuing to evolve as an independent advisor and strategist. This episode is about risk, reinvention, and the mindset required to build a global career in a constantly shifting industry. Gabriel, welcome to Active Ingredients.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No problem. You and I have had some fantastic conversations in the build up to this. You've spoken to many people in my team as well. And obviously you're, as part of your reinvention, very well known within the life sciences, social media world. But before we get into a lot of that detail, I'm keen to ask the question that I always kick off this podcast with. What do you believe are the three key ingredients of a successful leader and why?
Look, that's a great question. Probably there are more than three. What I have top of my head, I think the number one is integrity, right? So, and by integrity, what I mean is, consistency between your actions and your values. Being honest to yourself, to others, trustworthiness, reliability. Because these things, when you see one of your leaders lie or do something against the values, then and you see it, right? And once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and that's a big thing to me. So that's the number one. I think the number two, highly influenced by my days at Sandoz, Novartis. All of the things around curiosity and ambition. So asking yourself, why this is like this? How can we get better? And actually pushing the boundaries and try to grow, right? In every sense, grow the business, grow professionally as well. And maybe the third one, which I think is also essential, is more like the people dimension, having empathy, connecting with your people. In a way, is being generous and having a genuine interest on people, as opposed to being selfish. And this is something that in the last few years I've seen a lot in the PE environment, where leaders, CEOs, and C-suite, they tend to talk a lot about the exit of the business, the multiple of money, short term, and that's actually not it, right? So it should be about the people, the stakeholders, building the company. So if you push me to just list three, these to me are the three ones that are most important.
Yeah, I love it. I like to synthesize them down because, as you say, leadership is multidimensional and there are often lots of different values, but I quite like to really understand the three that stick out for you. So integrity, curiosity, and empathy.
Absolutely. You got
a fantastic backbone for life and for leadership. I love it. So where did your story begin? Obviously, you're, you had some interest in business, you had some entrepreneurial upbringing, but tell me more about kind of you when you were at school, college. Did you see a life destined in life sciences?
Not really. I was born in Uruguay. I spent until I was 30 years old in Uruguay. Almost half of my life there, and I became a public accountant in the public university, and then also I did a BA, a Bachelor in Administration, in a private university, and I worked in PwC, Pricewaterhouse, in the early 90s and so on. And very quickly, I found out that Uruguay was just a bit too small to actually keep on developing. At the same time, I married an amazing Argentinian lady. And in our honeymoon, we went to Italy and Europe, and we sort of discovered the amazing environment that Europe is in general, opportunities and so on. So we decided to leave Uruguay. And the thing was that we didn't have any money, right? So I had to apply for a scholarship for an MBA. And the British Council was kind enough to give it to me. And I couldn't be more grateful. And I will always be to the British people. And so we moved into the UK. And in a way, I mean, we were taking some risk, but not so much, because we always thought, let's go to the UK, Europe, and so on. If it doesn't work, we come back. I think it's when you're young, I think, you should be taking huge risks.
Yeah, I agree. And the risks that we're going to talk about throughout your career have been absolutely fantastic. But it obviously started in, Uruguay, as you said, in those early 90s. When did you realize that maybe it wasn't enough for you? Were you looking at kind of peers and friends and thinking, maybe there's more further afield?
Yeah, look, in Uruguay, I started actually selling health insurance door to door in the different neighborhoods in Montevideo, like, dogs chasing me, barking, like adventures, rainy days, and lots of rejection. And then I moved into PwC, which was like a big corporation. I spent like 4 or 5 years there. And then I moved into FMCGs, market research, and I started working with Unilever, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Seagrams, Procter & Gamble, with all the GMs there. And in a way, I was dealing with, I was young, I was already dealing with the top management from all of these blue chip companies in Europe. And I thought, there should be more to this, and this is like the hunger of actually trying to push the boundaries and find out, if there was something better outside.
Yeah, I love it. So, and has, taking risks always been part of you? Even when you were young, when you were a kid, was that like part of your makeup?
I do take risks. Right now, maybe I control myself a little bit because I'm coming of age in a way. I'm in the half of my professional career, so you need to be more careful. But I think at the beginning, you should be focused on actually learning as much as you can, taking risks, trying things, experiment, get it right, get it wrong, learn, fall, stand up again. So at the beginning, I think it's not very much around the money you can make. It's very much around the learning and the platform that you're building. And so risk taking to me, is something that is a must, particularly in the early stages.
Yeah, perfect. So let's talk about leadership as well. So before we dive into some of the themes that we want to talk about, when did you first feel like a leader?
So probably back in Uruguay in the second company, like this market research company, this was similar to AC Nielsen, kind of store audits, distribution for FMCGs and so on. The owner was 70 years old, Uruguayan, like similar to, I always thought of him like a Peter Drucker, kind of a Uruguayan Peter Drucker, super wise. And, 6 months after I joined, he had a stroke. So he was out of business for a few months. So I had to, take the helm of the company. And that was really, a wake-up call. So suddenly I found myself like, needing to face all the, all of these GMs from the blue chip companies, right? And I was on my own. I had a team. So in a way, this is a situation that I didn't choose to be, but I was there. I felt like a leader at that time.
Yes, thrown in the deep end. And how did you manage that? Being thrown in the deep end, speaking to these FMCGs, did you have to take a beat, really kind of compose yourself before going in, or were you like full of energy and just kind of send me in any direction and I'll go?
Yeah, I think, it was not really very conscious about the situation. I really love the business, love the company, had a great admiration for the owner of the company and my team and what I was doing. So I was very much embedded into it. So to me, I haven't thought about it. I just jumped into it. I think it's very much around passion. And when you're really in the flow, right, really loving what you're doing, I don't think, you question it too much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into some of the information here about moving from Montevideo to the boardroom. Okay. So it's been a story of like risk, reinvention, and as you said, like building a career, by taking opportunities as they come. But you left with a suitcase, and you were confident to go and start over. Can you give us a little bit more information about like when you moved and did your MBA and then what happened next?
Yeah, so I moved with my wife into Cranfield, between Milton Keynes and Bedford. So concrete cows and roundabouts.
Yes.
To me, I mean, it was an amazing experience because, of course, I mean, I was coming from Uruguay, fairly underdeveloped, and suddenly I was in this room full of my classmates. I mean, Cranfield was quite well known because the average age was pretty high, so 30 years old or so. So people had experience. All of them were great. Lecturers were very good as well, but I learned a lot from my peers. And to me, I mean, first of all, I mean, there was a bit of a civic education, like getting into the British way of doing things, the politeness and, like all of these things that to me are really valuable. But then, I mean, the networking and the connections and so on. And then, I mean, the channel to the job market. And this was the year 2000, just before the bubble. So it was fairly straightforward to find a job those days. And that was, I mean, at that point in time, I decided I wanted to get into life sciences because I thought, I should actually, these MBAs, I mean, it's like a moment where you have 1 year to reflect. And I thought, let's get into a sector that is always growing because of demographics and so on, and also high margins. And that's, to me, I mean, it's a good formula. When you need to select a sector, you don't want to be in sectors that are super volatile or going down or are depressing. So you want to be in sectors that are always growing, that are good. And of course, I mean, the purpose, right, of helping patients and people and so on. So.
Yeah, and sometimes though, as you're kind of moving into the industry for the first time, as you're absolutely correct. You got the high margins, less volatility, but sometimes that purpose grows the more you join a business and then you understand the patient centricity from the inside out.
Absolutely, and in a way, I mean, I always sort of criticize. I mean, the purpose, because everyone, I mean, this is like a cut and paste, right? You go through all the companies and everything is about market, is access to and improving healthcare and so on, which is true. At the end, I mean, I get a little bit tired because it's repeated across companies. And in a way, when I reflect upon it, I think it is so embedded in what I do that I just take it for granted. But that is it, right? Patient centricity, improve healthcare, ensure that we all live healthier lives, longer life, right?
So you were both risk-taking, but also being strategic in your decision-making compass. Okay. Where did you first get your big break in life sciences?
So, I mean, I straight from the MBA, I joined CDMOs Associates in London. And I think, I mean, this is the place to be. I think, I mean, it's a great consulting firm specialized in life sciences, sales and marketing. These guys are coming from Kellogg University. I mean, it's probably like the best school to actually enter the commercial side of pharma. And, I spent some time there and I quickly realized that this is it. I will double down. I want to specialize. I want to just focus on this, be really focused on life sciences. And then I was headhunted into IQVIA, IMS Health those days to actually develop consulting in Spain. That was the beginning. And to me, I mean, that was a moment where I really felt that I had some maturity from a life sciences point of view. I mean, when you're headhunted, I mean, you're headhunted because of something, right? And I really thought that I was really valued because of what I knew about commercial excellence, sales, marketing, and so on in life sciences. And to me, that was the first breakthrough. So CERES was like the sort of honeymoon introduction. And then IMS Health, IQVIA, to me, I mean, was actually the moment where I actually got in the ring,
Yeah.
fight the fight.
And then you had another relocation in that moment as well. So then moving out from the UK, moving over to Spain.
Absolutely, because we got pregnant with my wife, and we thought, that, Spain was, because of cultural affinity, we thought it was a great place to actually, have kids. So we moved into Spain, Madrid.
Lovely. So another little risk, though, just as you're about to have a baby, just another relocation. All good, just taking it in your stride.
Yes.
And then obviously you were there, though, for a good amount of time. Lots of growth, lots of change. Was that a big catalyst for the rest of your career, working in that organization, taking on those challenges and those promotions throughout over a decade?
Absolutely. To me, IMS Health, or IQVIA as it is named now, to me was probably the best part of my professional career. Although, as I always say, I'm just in the middle, right? So I still have like 20, 30 years to go. But I remember IMS Health was a marriage made in heaven. I've done a bit of everything, like developed consulting teams, hire people in different countries. Also, I worked as a GM in Spain and president for the south of Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So I think IMS gave me everything, and also was a great learning opportunity because at some point in time we were acquired by private equity, the Texas Pacific Group. We restructured the business. I had the opportunity to invest as well, and we IPO'd the company, and it was great for many reasons. One, because of this understanding the PE language and how to develop a company, which it was a really a fat company and not very well managed, to be honest. And I think when TPG came in and Adi Busby was a CEO, that was a big thing, because we sort of, as a team, we turned around the company. We IPO'd it, and we had, of course, a liquidity moment, which is also good, because it leads you to freedom, right? Which to me, is one of the big values that I have. So to me, it was great. I spent like 12, 13 years in IQVIA, which was a long time. But I decided I had to leave because, sometimes, when you stay in companies for too long, then it's difficult to actually make the next move. Because IQVIA is not like a pharma. In pharma, you can move across different pharma companies that are all similar. IQVIA is like one of its own. And if you spend too much time in IQVIA, I think you need to stay in IQVIA until the end. And I thought it was a good moment to jump. 12 years it's a decent tenure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Good amount of time. And then also, like, as you said, to go through the PE deal, to go through the IPO, to go through the different roles that you did, you definitely, for those 12 years, you gave them a lot of service.
Yes. Yeah.
But
they gave me a lot. They gave me a lot because I think, that's, as I said, IQ is an amazing company. The people were great. So I had great memory from those days.
Yeah. And as you said, that freedom moment, though, then gave you the chance to go and look at things in different parts of the life sciences world. So let's talk about what happened next, because you then went and worked in the kind of generics, you've worked in CDMO consulting, you've worked with some PE organizations from an advisory standpoint. I'm eager to understand from a commercial lens, okay, for our listeners, what are the most overlooked truths, I suppose, about commercial strategy in either generics or the CDMO businesses, because both are about to really explode. So it'd be good to get your viewpoint on it.
Well, the way in which I was educated, and I should have said that I did a doctorate at Cranfield on commercial excellence for pharma as well. So I spent a lot of time on commercial excellence, but mostly on originators, innovators like big pharma. And once you move from big pharma into generic CDMO, CMO, API, and so on, the first thing you see is lack of sophistication, right? It's like, in big pharma, they have big teams and methodologies and everything. It's like it's best practice. And you move into generics, and it's more like like the traditional sales approach. So not very sophisticated. But most importantly, I think what most, if not almost all companies are missing is the systemic view of commercial excellence. There is like a flavor of the day. So for example, one day it is about profiling, segmentation, targeting. The next day is about omni-channel or KPIs or get the system or get the best salespeople. And in a way, I mean, there is a continuum which goes from, what is your value proposition, what is your pricing, what is your profiling, segmentation, targeting, resource optimization, sizing, structure. So you go through a number of things that you need to take into consideration. And I think what all of these companies are missing is like the fact that you cannot be great at one thing and really bad at some other things. You need to sort of calibrate this system in a way that makes sense for the company, right? So I think most of these companies miss this systematic view. And of course, I think, I mean, the word is lack of professionalization on this. And the reason is because I think most of these people are coming from the manufacturing sector, which is, is not really aligned with this. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, sometimes to do 5 or 6 things extremely well in the commercial world means that you do them till they get boring.
Yes, and in a way, I always use the analogy of a river and then dams that come up. And in a way, it doesn't really matter if you do something great downstream, if upstream you're doing everything wrong, because these are like small dams that come up and there's no water flowing. So to me, I mean, the thing is, it's better to do everything average than to be great at KPIs. Who cares about, selecting the right KPIs if your value proposition, is not clear, if your pricing is all over the place, if you don't have the right people. So in a way, I think, there is a consistency and a balance between everything that you do, which I think in all of these companies is sort of missing.
And what about the added dynamic of how private equity can change the conversation or the feeling within an organization from the inside out? What's your lens on that?
To me, private equity, and I actually got into this like in the last 5 years or so after Sandoz. I really deep dived in the PE world, which to me, it is amazing because it's real, right? So in blue chip companies, there's a lot of people doing lots of things, many of them wasting time, lost in the matrix. In private equity, there's no place to hide. It's real, it's dynamic, and it's very much around how do you improve the business, right? And I always say that, cash is the thing. When you're in the corporations, in the Novartis of this world, and, I'm sure people that are listening to this probably connect with this idea, you don't see any cash at all. When you're in the corporation, there's some treasury department hidden somewhere. You don't get in touch with cash. In private equity, we say, sales is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. Because, companies go bust when they run out of cash. And this is what many executives, maybe they know it because they studied in university, but they are not actually breathing this day in, day out. And I think private equity is real because, you can make an impact day in, day out. Not too many people, big roles. So to me, it's pretty amazing. This is what I like the most.
Yeah. And if you and I spoke about the kind of cash is king piece has been a bit of a wake-up call for some leadership teams that are PE backed, and some aren't prepared and some are prepared. How have you been able to kind of work with your teams or advise teams that cash truly is king?
Well, that's, what you're saying, brings to me this super important topic, which is, who are the actual executives coming into PE? And normally, PE goes and tries to hire from blue chip companies, so from the corporation. And in a way, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, it's a great idea, but then I think, the transition between working in the Novartis of this world and moving into private equity is hard for many people. I've seen a lot of C leaders and CEO really struggling because, you're in private equity, you don't have armies of people doing stuff for you. You need to get on with it, right? So, and time is of the essence. There will not be like 100 meetings to actually move something from A to B. So I think probably more than 50% of the hires from outside PE struggle. unless they actually know exactly what they're getting into. So some people are great. Some people were actually struggling in the corporation. And then, I mean, once they are in PE, they sort of unleash their talent, right? Their energy, because I mean, they were bored in the corporation. They were frustrated because they couldn't move things. So, but I think that's a tricky one. Important thing is the team component. So in PE, you need to have like smaller teams, big roles, teams that trust each other. I mean, this idea of the speed of trust, and lots of collaboration, and also, I mean, diversity of ideas. I mean, now that we're close to the 8th of March, right? So I'm not so fixated on the diversity, equity, and inclusion, like the superficial way of looking at it. To me, what is important is ideas, right? So you want people with different ideas, with some tensions, some friction, but it needs to be operational. I mean, it needs to work as a team. So that will be it. And I think it's a complete different nature. So the teams that I see in PE are very different from the boards that I see in bigger corporations.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about that kind of trial, error, experimentation stuff. I think that this is going to be good for the listeners too. But before we dive into that, can we talk about somebody that actually you learned from in the pharma space? Because one of your mentors, Richard, played a big role in your career. What did you learn from him in that kind of trial, error, fast quit, mindset?
Yeah, I mean, Richard was great. He was not the only one. I think, I mean, when I actually reflect back into mentors and I have a long journey to go still, but I mean, when I look back, some of the learnings, I think I had many mentors. And so one of the things that I'm very clear is that none of them is actually the mentor. I don't have this sort of model like, I want to be like, because I like some dimensions of the mentors, but I really dislike some others. And I think, when I look back, I had mentors helping me on like the technical stuff. So I'm thinking, when I came into Sandoz, like all the technicalities of the API business, of manufacturing, all of this sort of hardcore stuff, I didn't know. And I had people actually helping me understand the technical side of it. But also, I mean, there's a component around this, like soft elements of leadership, how to conduct yourself. Or, for example, in consulting, how to structure a problem, structure a solution, like what good looks like when you come up with a presentation, a deck, how to pass on ideas, storytelling, all the PR communication styles. So I had different mentors doing different things. So I cannot actually pick on one, but I think it's important to have as many mentors as you can, and also to read a lot, because when I look back, I really feel that I didn't have enough mentors, or I wish I could have more mentors. Maybe, I mean, when you work in companies like a Google, Amazon, and so on, I mean, you're closer to great mentors. That was not my case, so I had to fill in some of the gaps through reading, and even, I mean, listening to podcasts. I think is a good way of doing it as well.
Yeah, it's the reason that I created this. I mean, half because now I get to learn from brilliant leaders. So all of these conversations, I'm writing down all these notes. I'm having an absolutely wonderful time as well, taking on board a lot of it. But, if you look back 10, 15 years at where you were in your career at that point, what we're trying to do here is create a vault of leadership knowledge that we can share. But I think one of the things with your episode for sure is that kind of risk awareness, being happy to go and do it. But I suppose, when do you decide whether to persist with something or to quit fast, move on, and try something new?
Yeah, that's right. Look, I mean, I would define myself as a fast quitter. So, I do a lot of experiments. Every time I walk into something, a project, a company, whatever, I walk with the eyes open, right? So I walk convinced that I want to do it and I'm going to be successful. So, but then I think, I mean, to me, I mean, it's super important to, in the first 90 days, make up your mind, what are the chances of you being successful? Yes or no? And this is very much like, if you decide that you want to play golf, right, and you know that it will take you 5,000 hours to learn how to play, and you go to the driving range day one and you cannot hit the ball. Day two, you hit the ball but badly. Third day, I mean, you're more or less the same. I mean, the thing is, shall I invest the rest of the hours, or I actually walk away and do something where, you know, I could create more value, right? Something that I'm good at, that I enjoy, and that also moves the economic engine, right? So, and to me, every time I get into something, I think, you know, like chances of success, sometimes it has to do with the people you're working with, that, you know, maybe there's something that you missed, because I mean, there's no due diligence, right? Once you get into something. So normally they due diligence you, but it's very difficult for you to actually due diligence. I mean, who is your CEO? Who are your peers? What are the values? One thing is what you're being told, and then, I mean, the real thing is once you are in the game. And to me, I mean, it's super important, because I mean, we have limited time in life, right? So, you know, the moment you feel that you will not be successful, just push the eject button, disappear, and focus on something else. And then, I mean, some people say, no, but you need to stay for at least 1 year, because, you know, what would people say, right? And the reality is that, you know, people don't care, because I mean, they're just too busy caring about themselves. They don't care about you, right? So to me, I mean, it's you know, and this is not that I'm always quitting, right? So I quit big time, like 2-3 times, and I'm
Yep.
you know, I don't have any regrets. I think it was the right move. Learning opportunity as well. I think every time you make an experiment, you try things, you push yourself, and you get it wrong, you know, this is my bad, but at the same time, I learned a lot, and I don't repeat the same mistake, right? So I keep moving.
Yeah. And and I'm eager to understand, was this part of your thinking when you went onto that kind of second mountain, as they call it, where, you know, you've been able to transition maybe away from the operator roles or corporate life and become an independent advisor? Has that come from being able to kind of quit fast and be able to make good decisions that then, you know, create the future for you?
Yeah, in a way, I mean, becoming a freelancer after Sandoz, in a way, I mean, it was one experiment that actually worked out, right? But there was to me, I mean, it's a big risk-taking chance when you decide, I mean, to leave the corporate world and develop your second wave. That's a big risk that you're taking. And also, I mean, to build a career as a freelancer or as an advisor, you know, takes a lot of patience and hard work and so on. So it was part of that process. I think I got to a point where, you know, after 30 years in the corporation, I sort of, you know, I don't know if the word is, I got bored of the routines and the rituals of the corporation. Like, you know, now we have the kickoff meeting, then we have the offsite, and we have the MBR, and, you know, all of these cadence. Because I think, I mean, after 1 year that you're in a company or in a role, I mean, you understand where the bullets are coming from, and you enter into a bit of a comfort zone. And I always felt this, like, you know, this is coming. This is the comfort zone. And I know people say, yeah, but, you know, you can change roles. You can work in the same company for forever. Keep on changing roles. It's like a different. And, you know, I don't fully agree with that, because, I mean, you're still playing the same scenery with the same culture. I mean, same CEO as C team. I mean, it's always more or less the same. And to me, I mean, like, being a freelancer gives I mean, of course, first of all, the free part of the freelancer, like the freedom to actually decide where you want to work, who do you want to work with, on what topic. So you can say no as many times as you want, and you can get in and you can get out. Because when I look back, probably my IMS days, IMS was probably the only company that I really fell in love with. You know, a company that I could have stayed for longer. I think, I mean, in a way, I mean, you know, if you're in love with the company, I think, I mean, corporations are amazing. But when it is more like transactional, you know, I think it's better to be a freelancer and move on and keep changing the scenery, work with different people, different topics, and so on. I think it's more attractive.
Yeah, getting your energy from that freedom. But I mean, if you are, one of your active ingredients was curiosity. So, I mean, if that is something that gives you energy, then you can go and be curious with more people in different parts of the market, different locations, different territories. Yeah, I like the sound of it. One of the things I am quite interested in, though, is when you were sat with the patience element of leaving corporate and then going into that advisory world. For some people, that's actually quite daunting to sit with the knowledge of, oof, where am I going? What am I doing next? Is there anything that you can share? What was the hard work that you put into yourself to be able to then take on these other challenges?
I think, it was a trial and error. I think, there's a lot of, there's a number of decisions you need to make. So, do I set up myself as a company or on my name? If it is on my name, it's not scalable. There's nothing that is not an asset. You cannot sell it. And then, to me, what is super essential, and I learned that with months or maybe years, is actually that you really need to be super focused on what you want to do. What is your niche? You need to play in a niche. You cannot be a generalist. And also, to me, that you need to prepare yourself in advance. It's not good enough to one day, say I'm leaving the corporation or you're being restructured, and then suddenly Monday morning, you become a freelancer. That doesn't work because, to be a freelancer, an advisor, potentially you need consulting skills. You need to have the relationships. You need to know the topics. You need to be able to get your hands in the mat. Because remember that when you're in a corporation and you become VP, president, and so on, in a way, you end up having an army of people doing everything for you, right? So in a way, you get into the comfort zone and you become unfit. So the moment, you're restructured, and this will happen. People might deny that it will happen, but I think for most of the people after 50, 55 or so, they are restructured, they need to leave, and they still have 30 years to go. And the question is, what do they do the 30 years? And whatever you want to do, you need to plan. And there's a big element on this thing happening and you not being ready. So in my case, I have to say that I planned it. I planned it. Actually, I planned things that I haven't used yet, like my doctorate. So my plan when I did my doctorate was actually to teach, get into a university and so on. That didn't happen yet. Might happen. I still have 20, 30 years to go. But I think it's super important to plan. And also when you're senior in an organization, don't let your people actually do everything for you, because you become unfit. And then the moment you're on your own, you will miss those capabilities that, if you don't catch up, like, all the AI, PowerPoint, Excel, whatever you're doing, like the mundane things that you release and you outsource to the army of people that you have. Then when you're on your own, you miss them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like it, because when we've spoken before about this reinvention phase, you were saying that it's almost like, you didn't want to be unfit in the professional world, and that actually you worked on your commercial and intellectual fitness to make sure that you were, still in the game and still relevant.
That's right. And I think, and this is coming from some point in time where I would not mention the company, but I really felt it, that I was actually becoming unfit. Everything was just too easy. I had plenty of time. I could do actually what I need to do in like 20% of my time. So lots of free time, easy peasy. And when you feel that should be like a red flag all over the place. You need to do something. If you feel comfortable, that's bad news. And right now, what I'm doing at my stage is that, every day in the morning, every time I wake up, every single day, I actually I go through all the news and developments in the space, in the CDMO, CMO, API, generics, and so on. I sort of scan and curate the news, and I ask myself the so what, right? And I log it. And I pick those that are relevant to what I do. And I actually I write a post, and I publish it. And I publish it in a way, I mean, it's a bit selfish because I do it for myself, because I think it solidifies the knowledge that I sort of capture. At the same time, I share it with more people. I have a number of followers, and I get a lot of work out of LinkedIn as well. So it's a channel to market as well. So to me, it's a nice habit that allows me to stay mentally fit and also get business, right? So that's what I do.
Yeah, it's been really interesting because I mean I engage with a lot of your content as well, you know, and I see it from afar, and it just started to snowball because the great thing is it's your view on what is happening real time, but it's your view, right? Which I think a lot of people really like. And tell the listeners, like, how much has it grown? Because it must have only been going for what, 18 months or 12 months, something like that?
No, less than that. I'm doing this for long.
Yeah.
And I have been publishing for the last 10 years or so, but one post per week and so on. And I think, like 7-8 months ago, I decided to actually, I had a manuscript for a book, right? And I shared it with an editor, and he said, "Hey, look, I mean, this is because it was like a bunch of posts, not really, there were no connections." So he told me, "Look, I mean, this is rubbish, you know." So, you really don't have a book here. Of course, I mean, we can have a book, but then, I mean, we need to do something else. And I sort of, again, I mean, this when to quit and when to stick kind of the thing. I decided, shall I stick and do a book, or I quit? And I quit on the book, and I changed direction in terms of the energy. And I thought it was better to put the hours, the time on actually this, like doing a daily post, which I think it's probably more engaging than a book. I think, I mean, most people right now, I mean, they don't read books, and even less a book written by myself, right? I mean, because I'm a nobody. Therefore, what was the point? And then and this was in the summer last year. So from July or so, I moved from 5,000 followers to 22,000, 23,000 today. So, I mean, there has been a lot of engagement. I think I got a lot of followship in this space in particular, which I like. I mean, the CMO, CDMO, generics, and also senior people. And I think I've been having great conversations and projects, and I have mentees and coaches that are coming from this sector. So it's working for me. Some people ask me, how do you create this content? I mean, this should take you a lot of time, and of course, I have a protocol to do this, right? I mean, I don't spend a lot of time, but it takes time and effort, of course. But in a way, I mean, it's something that I enjoy. I was doing it before. I'm doing it right now. It's not too dissimilar. The only difference is that I log it, and I actually I try to make it, my point of view, my footprint, in a way, my voice, and as good as it can. And when you publish something, I mean, you're forcing yourself to ensure that there's content, there is quality, and so on.
Yeah, and it's back to that kind of relevance and fitness. I would say that for somebody that's used the platform once a week to now using it on the daily, I think within our audience, of this part of the life sciences world, I think it's one of the most engaged pieces of content that there is. There's updates as soon as something happens in the news. I'm actually looking forward to what your viewpoint is on it. And then I think that others are as well. So it's quite an interesting dynamic within a really short period of time. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Nice piece of reinvention. But some people don't understand that actually, platforms like LinkedIn, as you say, are a good networking site still. Because if you have got a good viewpoint on CDMOs, some CDMO executive leaders might come to you and ask for your help.
Well, that's actually what happens. I mean, I get a lot of messages on a daily basis, and many times they ask me, how much time do you spend doing BD, right, as a freelancer? And the reality is that the answer is zero, because I get, as a result of the content that I'm sharing, in a way, I'm sharing my point of view, and that's better than the CV, because I mean, anyone could have a CV and titles and stuff. I mean, who cares? And the point of view, and actually showing what you think, your ideas, how you reason, how you connect the dots, That's more important. I get most of the work that I get it through LinkedIn. So, which I think is a great network. It's a social network. Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that you're using it well, because some people, when they move into the reinvention stage, that second wave, there is what is my point of view? What am I posting? To how do I win new business as a consultant if it's not through the people that I know immediately? And I think that you're really pushing the boundaries on it. As I said, kudos. I think that you're doing very well. It's a good discipline, definitely, to stay on top of. So well done. So one thing that I'd probably like to leave the listeners with just on this piece, though, is what message would you give to leaders that I suppose maybe are feeling stuck in that corporate world but don't know how to reinvent? What would you say has been your kind of the catalyst or the magic formula?
Yeah, I think, first of all, there are many leaders that are not feeling stuck. But that's just because they haven't actually questioned where they are, what they're doing, and if they're really, how they're spending their time and what it is outside the corporation. So, but that's a different page. So people that are stuck, to me, I think the easy answer is to go seek help, get a coach, whatever. I think just before that, try to understand, really try to understand who they are, strengths, weaknesses, why they are stuck. Try to, develop some self-awareness of what is their situation. And then, develop, this might sound very strategic, but develop a strategy and a plan. So, where do we want to play, how to win, all of these elements. I think it applies directly to executives, and all of these executives that are familiar with strategy is the same thing. Just have a vision as to where you want to be in 5 years. Think of where do you want to play, if it is in the corporation or a different corporation, different sector, as a freelancer, and so on. And then, what does it take to win? So what are the things that you don't have? You're unprepared. For example, are you actually up to date with all the technological developments, or are you up to date with the industry? You have the relationships that you will need in the next 20, 30 years once you don't have the title of the corporation, because, I think many people, they feel that they have a lot of value, and now and in the future. But the reality is that the value is contextual to the company they're working on and the title. So the moment they're out of this company and with no title, then, reality is hard.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. So where to play, how to win, where you want to be in 5 years, what does it take to win? I think that is a good way to leave this. So I always like to end the discussions with, I don't know, a bit more optimism of the future, what's coming. What excites you most about the life sciences industry and where it's heading?
Well, to me, it's I don't need to force any optimism, because I do have it. I think, this API, CDMO, CMO, generics, there is so much movement and dynamics happening that, it's going to be fun and interesting in the years to come. So there are geopolitical tensions, there are the tariffs, there is the onshoring, all the sovereignty components. Then, there's a bunch of different animals developing across the value chain. So you need to look at supply chains and the different players and what are the roles that they're having. I think there are more companies, more smaller companies playing different roles. So you have Tiva, for example, moving into more like innovation, and Sandoz like focusing on the biosimilars, and Beatrice on BAMs. And then a lot of like the Albotechs of this world, like doing like virtual approaches. So, and you have regional players, local players. So I think, it's super exciting. The industry will provide growth, and there's a lot of players doing interesting and new stuff, new business models, which I think, is going to be increasingly interesting to follow.
Yeah. And what about if you're working for a large pharma or a biotech innovator, and you're being headhunted into like the CDMO, generics or biosimilars industry, is there any advice that you'd give people for trying to move into the different slipstream of those organizations?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a complete different business model. Many times it could work, but not necessarily. It's not the same thing. It's not transferable. So you really need to understand, I mean, what are the dynamics of a CDMO or a CMO? It's the patient sometimes is not really at the center. I mean, it's further away. CMOs and CDMOs are very much around B2B, a partnership approach. It's a different pace. So in a way, I mean, the advice is don't make the mistake to think that it is the same. It's very different. Just, understand what it is and then walk in with the eyes open.
Yeah, have an awareness of the differences rather than, oh yeah, I'm just going to go in. That kind of seems like it might be the same thing. Okay, and what about the future of leadership? What qualities do you think will define like the next generation of successful leaders in life sciences?
So, I mean, I tend to look at leadership as something that is sort of on the Morgan Housel kind of approach, like same as ever. That's why we look at leaders in the past and we try to connect with that. So the leadership qualities, I think, are more or less the same. If I look at right now and into the future, the pace of change has amplified, there's more speed on this. And to me, maybe adaptability, should be the thing to look into. You want leaders that are, they have a learning ability. They can go through the learning curve fast. They can adapt to different situations. Like, from a talent point of view, like all of these new generations, they're different, right? They value different things. Then the geopolitical environment is changing very fast. Technology is changing. All of what I mentioned around, like all of these different companies reinventing themselves. So I think what you want to avoid is being stuck in the past. So you want people that are able to adapt to the changing environment.
Yeah, love it. And then what about my last question is for somebody that has relocated? If we've got a listener here at the moment who's maybe still in the country that they grew up in, what advice would you give for somebody and the importance of maybe a relocation in your career?
Relocation is a must. I'm not national at all. I'm a citizen of the world. So, I'm Uruguayan, married to an Argentinian. I lived in the UK, in Germany, in Spain. Right now, I live like a bit in Madrid, a bit in Uruguay. I travel around the world. So, to me, when you meet people that are traveled, you see the difference. If you're doesn't really matter. There are no good or bad experiences. Just if you can move abroad and you're young, experience it, because you won't regret it. There's always learning. Don't think twice.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Take risks. That's for sure. Don't think twice. But Gabriel, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's going to be fascinating as well for, leaders that are looking at the second wave. It seems like you're definitely riding it very nicely. So kudos to you. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, and thank you very much for having me in your podcast.
Perfect. Thank you.